Hi, I'm Rob Brado. I'm the Visual Effects Supervisor on Surf's Up, and I'm going to walk you through these progression reels that show you a little bit about how we made these shots and put them together for the movie. We're actually going to start here with the very last shot of the movie, and here we're just basically layering together all the different pieces that go into making the surface of the wave, and right now we're adding the particles that make up the foam ball and the lip spray and the whitewater. The various passes here are used to kind of control the lighting and the shadows and all the different pieces that go into making, in this case, you can see the spray coming off the surfboard of Cody or the spray coming off of his hand. As the camera follows Cody around and drops back into the tube of the wave, you get to see now this specular highlight showing up around the ring of the wave, which was a concept that was brought about by Paul Lassagne, the production designer on the film, after looking at some reference photos where this really happens. In every one of our shots, we had some amount of lens effects, some scratches and other things. So this is a good opportunity to show you what goes into making one of these archive footage shots. So we start with the characters, and then we start to degrade the footage. We had grain, we had vignetting around the edge of the frame. We tint it to look like it was sepia toned, and then add the projector gate that we actually scanned off of real footage, and a bunch of dirt and scratches and all the different layers that just go into making it look like it was something that we transferred from film. The last moment of this shot, we decided to make it black and white and then add that projector weave like it was a really bad transfer to kind of drive that point home. We're just going to kind of break down some of the particle elements that really go into a big wave shot like this. So there were a lot of particles, and a shot like this might have 500 million to 1 billion particles that go into making up the shot. So what we have here is the water surface that we render, and then those are the different lighting passes. They all get added together and controlled in the composite to make up the lip spray elements. Then we have the different whitewater effects that are everywhere in the shot, around the characters, around the place where the lip intersects with the bottom swell of the wave, and of course the splash where Cody drops into the wave on this shot. And every one of our shots gets some sort of lens effect. In this case, it drops on the lens. In the down and out sequence, here you're seeing us as we turn on different lights in the scene, and then of course that last light is the key light, which is the sun sitting out over the horizon, giving us that nice warm orange light. So we break this shot down in a couple different ways, turning all the different pieces off and on here. Gives you an opportunity to see some of the pieces that go into building one of these final shots. So this is taking a character out at a time. When you take the characters out, you actually get to see their footprints real clearly. If you look at those footprints on the left of the frame, you actually see the ones that are blurred, the ones that are softened by the water as it runs over it. We also have a lot of splashes in the film, and this was one of the shots where we tried to refine those splashes to get them as good as we could. There's lots of different layers that go into this, but the refractive layer, the highlights, and the different lighting components that kind of all get added together in the final composite to make the splashes look, as realistic as possible. And here's a lighting breakdown of that same shot. What you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner there is Cody from all the different angles of the different lights that make up the lighting in this sequence. So that's Cody's shadows from all those various lights. One of the things that comes up time and time again when you're doing a movie that takes place on the water is your camera actually ends up dropping below the surface of the water. And in this case, what we wanted to do was simulate the fact that these cameras actually had underwater camera housings that enables the camera to see both below the surface of the water and above the water at the same time. It's something you see all the time in documentaries, and we wanted to be able to do it in an efficient way. The lighting team came up with a way of doing this mostly in 2D. You can see all these elements being layered together to give us that underwater camera look in a very efficient and convincing way. So those are the scratches and the vignetting on the lens and all those things that make it feel like you're actually shooting this with a real camera. This shot build is a good example of the way that we designed the lighting controls to create these waves so the audience could feel like they actually rode these waves by the time they leave the theater. So from the very beginning, we defined these wave zones, and what you're seeing here is the different zones of the wave going by. They're being colored different colors. And for each of those zones, we had a whole set of technical and artistic controls that we could use to control what that particular zone looked like. So here you're seeing the diffuse lighting and the incandescence and the various photographic controls that we used, and we could dial in those photographic controls individually for each zone of the wave. And as this shot build continues, you're just going to see more and more of the photographic and artistic controls that we layered together to make this shot complete as it shows up in the final film. Then once all the wave is done, of course, it's time to add the whitewater, the lens housing, the lens flares, and all the other pieces that actually make this kind of shot complete for the movie. Here you're looking at the rough layout stage, which is when the layout team blocks in the position of the character and the camera. And then animation takes it over and brings the characters to life. And then the final layout team actually goes in and puts the final camera and set dressing together. Of course, after that, you've got to finish the characters up with their hair and feathers. And then you actually watch all the different layers that the lighter and the compositor uses to finish up the shot and finish up the film in this case.